There's an old saying in superhero video games, with great power comes greater need for heat sinks and fans to offset the heat generated by that power. Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week we're talking about superhero video games, how they work, what makes for a good one, and what are some of the challenges inherent in adapting that sort of story into the medium of games. Our spider sense is tingling, so let's get into it. I'm Kirk Hamilton.
I'm Maddy Myers.
And I'm Jason Schreier. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
It's us again. Wow.
Yet again.
All three of us made it.
We have so much to talk about today.
We did. We showed up.
We
made the commute. The long commute.
Oh, guys, I almost forgot. I have something cool to show you both.
Okay.
Something cool?
Hold on. Stay. Keep
wow,
recording.
Finally something cool.
This is exciting.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my mic for a second, but keep recording.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm going to describe... I can't describe... I was going to describe what Jason is doing, but he's turned off his screen. So now I can only see Maddy, her keytar with a Wolverine mask on it behind her.
I can only see Kirk and some cool blue lighting next to his various instruments.
A little bit of atmospheric lighting in here.
What if Jason never came back? He was like, let me show you something cool. I quit.
It's just like a middle finger emoji on his screen.
It's just like a custom gif of like Jason flipping us off and being like, I'm never coming back. He's been gone for a surprisingly long time. Is Jason okay? Should we send him a DM?
I think he probably is. I'm pretty excited, but I'm wondering what it's going to be. Is this going to be... I think it'll be a physical object that he'll hold up to the camera. Like he's got something that he wants us to see.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe it was an elderly Japanese man. And I was like a little worried. I was like, did Jason take that bit too far? Like, did he befriend somebody? And he's like, it'll be really funny if you come and say hi to my friends on this show we do.
Like, let me tell you about the rule of threes in comedy. You got to have a real punchline at the end. You got to take it somewhere unexpected. I think it's going to be an object. I think it's going to be... I suppose it'll be video game related. Maybe it won't be, but it seems like it probably will be.
I hope it's a Suikoden 2 cosplay.
Oh man, that would be good. He's like dressed up as Nanami. He has the hair.
I'm still like wishing there was a huge cosplay group of every single star in that game. Like no one would ever do that. But what if somebody did do that? That would just be so cool. I
don't know how popular cosplay of Suikoden is, or how popular it was even when those games were more
when I looked
recent.
it up, there were definitely like Jowie and Ryu and Nanami cosplayers. Sure. And I feel like
but not people cosplaying as like the private detective.
Okay, guys.
Oh wait, Jason's back.
Do you remember how Kirk secretly watched Billions for like a month without telling us?
Oh my God. Yes.
I do remember that.
Well, I did something secret too without telling you guys.
It is a thing he's holding up to the camera. In fact, it is a human being.
What?
Yeah, I secretly had a baby.
Why did you do this?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Gotcha.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
What a weird... How am I going to top this? I feel like the pressure's really on me now.
He's 6 days old.
I hope that his name is Bobby Axelrod.
Fingers crossed.
I'll tell you guys his name
Bobby
off the
Billions
air.
himself.
But I think he's
Bobby
hungry, so
Billions.
he has to go now.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's a tiny baby.
Oh, that is so exciting. Oh, and there's Amanda.
Hi,
Hello,
Amanda. Congratulations
to you
Jason
both.
didn't tell
that's
us
so
this,
exciting.
so we had no idea. She can't hear us. She just has a life and she's walking
Oh man,
away.
Mazel Tov. What a cool surprise. That
That's
wasn't what we were
wild.
expecting.
What were you expecting?
No.
We're something Suikoden, like you were going to be in Suikoden cosplay. We had a few guesses.
Or an elderly Japanese man was my main
also
guess.
right. You had decided to complete that
It's sort
joke.
of, I mean, babies kind of look elderly.
Newborns do look like old men.
Yeah, they do.
That is true. They do have kind of old man energy. So this is a much better surprise.
It worked out nicely because we actually went to the hospital last Wednesday, the day after we recorded. And I was like, oh man, I hope we don't have to like go into labor like during the recording session. You guys had no idea,
Bizarre
right?
thing to keep a secret.
No.
How on earth would we have guessed this?
Like, Jason, you kind of have expectant father energy,
Jason
right?
has that glow. He's just glowing, but it must be because he made us play Suikoden 2. That
He's
must
still
be
just
why.
feeling good
Just
about
so you
that.
understand the extent of how secret I had to keep this, I went to a barbecue at Sumit Sarkar's house
You
a
did,
few
and
weeks
I
ago
almost went
with
to that
Amanda,
barbecue.
with my wife, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. And so I had to go around, because half of your coworkers were there, I had to go around to all of them and tell them to keep it secret from you.
What?
Oh, wow. All right. That's
Okay.
pretty devious. I appreciate that.
I had to find a way to one-up Kirk.
Well, you did.
Yeah, I would say that a
Don't-
human life is one-upping the knowledge of several seasons of a TV show. It's
Yeah,
a little bit better secret to keep.
I'm a competitive person. What can I say? Anyway,
Yeah, that's good.
on with the
That's
show.
good.
Am I supposed to secretly play Xenogears? I'm so overwhelmed right now. I don't even know
Maddie,
what to
now
say.
you
Yeah,
to
Maddie,
this.
balls in your
have
court.
To, you have to be this, though.
I don't know. I'm
The
blown
stakes
away.
are high.
That's so exciting, Jason.
That
you
is
have
exciting.
2 children.
I have 2
Yeah,
children.
Now you can do A/B testing.
my one more thing was another fake out, because I'm going to talk about having 2 children a little bit later.
Oh, nice. All right. I was
right.
wondering if the thing you had put seemed like the best one more thing, but I wasn't gonna. I was gonna take you at your
It was a fake out.
take you at your word. Nice.
Classic fake
Nicely
out.
done. Nicely done on all counts. Congratulations, Jason Schreier.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wild stuff.
Well, on
You
that
want
note,
more
Triple Click.
surprises?
Triple Click is a listener supported show, and we've got yet another set of mouths to feed between the 3 of us. So hey,
So true.
if you want to help Jason pay for diapers and
A lot of diapers.
toys
Yeah.
and clothes for his new offspring, well, you can go to MaximumFun.org/join. You can become a member of Maximum Fun, which is our podcast network. And
Yes.
if you do that, you support our show. You help us keep doing this, where we surprise one another with delightful things every so often. And we
I like this better than the thing where we force each other to do things we don't want to do. This is
Yes,
a way
delightful
better
surprises.
running bit. This
It
is
is.
lovely.
It is. I love it as well. Anyway, you all pretty much know the drill if you listen to this show. You get monthly bonus episodes. The bonus episode this month is going to be about the TV show Better Call Saul, which just concluded last night. I stayed up late
my
to watch
God.
the finale.
You both
What a
did.
finale. Holy crap. What a good
my
show.
God.
I'm going to watch it after this.
I was literally, I can tell this story now. I was crying like in front of the TV. I got upstairs. I went up to Amanda. She was like, "How was it?" Because she doesn't watch it. I was like, I was crying. She was like, "Well, you didn't cry last week when your son was born." So.
You're like, look, okay.
Listen.
Jimmy and I go pretty far back at this point.
Kim Wexler, really. She and I are
Yeah.
buds.
Yeah. It's really all about Kim and not Jimmy. We don't
It's
is.
true. It's
It
true.
is.
Just kidding. I love them both, despite their many faults.
Yeah.
Today I was driving and I saw Florida license plate and I choked up. I was like, Kim, I can't
You're
believe.
like the sprinkler company.
Yeah, that hellish life you lived.
I know.
Yeah, her new hairdo though, well, anyways.
No,
We'll get
have
into
to
it on
save
the
the
Beans
talk for
cast.
Spoiler cast.
We'll get into it on the Beans Cast, which you can listen to if you become a member at MaximumFun.org/join. Of course, a lot of other bonus episodes that you will also get to listen to. And one other bit of housekeeping is just a reminder that we are all reading the book Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. We've taken to calling it Tomorrow X3, at least when I write it out, because that's easier.
Nice.
It is a wonderful book that I am near the end of, about game developers and just life and being creative and creative partnerships. It's really a really readable, really fun book. We're going to be talking about that on September 8th, on our episode on September 8th. We're going to be spoiling the book too. So of course you can listen to it later if you read the book a little late. I saw some people were getting it from the library and may not be with us in time, but hopefully you have it and you're reading it. And that's going to be really fun. So September 8th for that. All right. So
On with the show.
wow, that's a lot of
I
really
know.
exciting. Yeah, I feel like we've had a whole podcast's worth of drama already.
Wow.
But we have got a hot topic for you for this episode. This is something we've all been chewing on over the past few weeks, in part because Marvel's Spider-Man, originally on PlayStation, is now out for PC. We've been kind of replaying that game and thinking about it and just thinking about games in general. So we wanted to talk about this topic, and that topic is superhero games. What makes a good superhero game? What is it about superheroes that can translate well or poorly to the video game, to the medium of video games? There's kind of a lot to talk about. There's a lot of different kinds of superhero games, and it's a pretty open topic. I wrote some prompts, some questions. I listed some games, but I don't have a super strong agenda here. So I'm gonna kick us off with a quote from our friend Tom Bissell that he wrote way back in the day, in the early 2010s, in his review of Batman Arkham City, he wrote, "What if, of all the experiences video games make theoretically available to us, a simulated superhero experience turns out to be what, at the end of the day, video games do best." That is the opening line from his review. And I think, I think that's a fun opening line and probably a good prompt to kick us off. So let's just start by looking at that question. Are video games uniquely suited to superhero stories? And if so, or if not, what makes a good superhero game?
Oh, man. It's a good question. I actually, I think that I can't really answer this without also tackling another question you wrote here, which is, are all video games kind of superhero games? Is God of War a superhero game? Is Control a superhero? And I think the answer is absolutely. Like, well, not to all, but certainly
all is a bit of an
all the power fantasy games are.
Yeah, every power fantasy game, every action adventure game where you're like building up a skill tree and collecting powers and gear for your decked out superhero protagonist is a superhero game. So like Kratos, I mean, the only difference between Kratos and Batman is that Kratos didn't originate in comics. And I was going to say doesn't have comics, but I'm sure there are comics about Kratos these days because everything is transmedia. And so it doesn't, there really is no difference. It's just like where your origin is determines whether you're a superhero or not. So in that sense, maybe Tom is getting at a point here in that like the video game form is best at delivering a power fantasy, which is probably a stronger argument than like the superhero, or maybe it means the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, especially since a lot of early superhero games weren't very good, which is something that Tom also gets into in the article. And the Batman Arkham games were some of the first really refreshing superhero games. And of course, we live in a post-Arkham world now. We're all coasting on that, and we all kind of have that as the barometer by which we can measure other superhero games. But before that, mostly superhero games were based on movies, and video games that are based on movies are notoriously stinkers, with the exception of E.T., greatest game ever made, obviously.
Yes,
and
1984 classic.
At this point, like if we're looking at something like Spider-Man, which it feels so good to be Spider-Man in Spider-Man that it's just like, oh, of course, this is a perfect video game concept. You're a superpowered being and you're swinging around the city. But I don't know if that was necessarily a given when Tom wrote this line. I think for him, it was more of like a revelatory moment of this type of game that takes Batman and makes him feel like a video game hero is the final realization of what video games should have always been. It's just that you were Mario and Kirby before. And those characters may as well have been Batman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something also to the specificity of Batman. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the first, and I don't think this is necessarily true since there was like the Treyarch Spider-Man game, there have been good superhero games before Batman Arkham Asylum, which I believe was in 2009, that were good or seen as good.
Yeah, but X-Men, Children of the Atom. How could I not mention the X-Men arcade game? Another great. It actually is really fun.
Yeah, it is really good.
I think that Arkham Asylum got at something that Spider-Man kind of had, but that felt pretty fresh when that game came out, which was it really felt like a Batman simulator.
Yeah.
And in a way that worked and was fun as a video game. And I think that's specific to Batman because Batman's whole deal is basically he is a normal guy. Mm-hmm. He just has a lot of cool shit, which basically makes him, he's kind of like Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell or whatever. Like he's kind of a stealth game protagonist in a lot of ways, who then he also is able to fight, and he's got a lot of martial arts skills. So there's like a fighting game and there's a stealth game, and they don't really have to deal with actual superpowers, which is always the interesting question about Batman, is Batman actually a superhero? Because what's the joke in Justice League? It's like the groaner in that extremely messy movie where he's like, what are your powers again? And he's like, I'm super rich. And those are his powers, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
So actually the first, or widely seen as one of the most successful superhero franchises of video games, is about a guy who is not technically super in the way that we're thinking about, which I think kind of means something that feels important to this conversation.
I agree. I think it's also why I remember liking Lego Batman a ton. I didn't play Lego Avengers, but I remember Lego Batman being something that translated really well. Like the colorful villains and everything were fun, but also just the fact that you step in as Batman first. It's just a really easy entry point. And Tom Bissell makes the same point about Spider-Man, although he's not talking about the Insomniac game. He's talking about the previous one you mentioned, the Treyarch one.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, and how the reason why it works as a way in is because Peter Parker is also an everyman character. He does have superpowers, but he's pretty squishy. He's not as strong as Superman or Wonder Woman, or I got to think of an X-Men character, the Hulk, Wolverine. But he's still pretty strong. It's just that he's a friendly neighborhood guy. So he's much more grounded in reality in a similar way to Batman. And that is Tom's theory as to why he's just relatable enough. It's like you can get into the power fantasy because you see this character as a regular person on some level. They just got a little extra, and that helps.
You know, it's interesting because the ways that those two characters are grounded are actually opposites, right? Batman is in most ways a completely unrelatable person. He's this billionaire. He's kind of a real weirdo, like especially various versions of Bruce Wayne. He's this kind of obsessive freak, kind of like he lives this pretty freaky life.
Yeah.
And then, but he doesn't have super strength or super speed like some of the people that he fights, where Spider-Man does have super strength and has really amazing powers. He's the amazing Spider-Man, but in his regular everyday life, he's this kind of down and out young person struggling with a job. In every version of Peter Parker, he's always kind of failing. I just listened to the series that the Blank Check, the movie podcast, did on Sam Raimi, and they watched all of the Spider-Man movies. And a really interesting thesis they kept coming back to with that take on Spider-Man and then Spider-Man in general, because they're very knowledgeable about the comics, is that a big thing with Spider-Man is that being Spider-Man ruins Peter Parker's life, and that those two things are always in tension. Like, the better he's doing at being Spider-Man, usually the worse he is at being Peter Parker, and that's the core tension at the heart of those Raimi movies, especially Spider-Man 2. Well, really Spider-Man 3 too. And that's something that I actually think the Spider-Man game, replaying it, doesn't get at as much. Like, it's kind of there. There are times, like, his relationship with MJ is, like, in a kind of a weird place, but they're basically just friendly the whole time because she's just another friendly quest giver. And there isn't that feeling of, like, God, my life is falling apart and I have to save the world, which is such a hallmark of Spider-Man for me anyway.
Those moments that it happens, though, work so much better for me. Like, when the conflicts aren't about just the supervillains, but also Peter losing his apartment and getting evicted, and he has to like go to all the trash cans to try to find his little USB drive. Like, those moments are great because it's so mundane. I mean, that quest is also hilarious because the sanitation worker who's helping him find it, like, is just not questioning anything, which is like also very New York to me in a certain way, where like Spider-Man's just like, I need to find this USB drive, and the guy's just like, yeah, whatever, kid. The garbage truck's over there, and it's like, it's really, and the guy's so helpful. Like, those moments are so much funnier to me than, well, I mean, we can get into it, but there are some parts of the Spider-Man game that really break my immersion.
That moment especially, it's another Spider-Man thing that Spider-Man is very New York. And there's a lot of sort of like everyman working New York character who turns up in Spider-Man, and having the guy just be this sort of operator for garbage trucks who's just helping Spider-Man out that was a very Spider-Man moment. And I agree. I think the game's at its best when it's capturing those moments.
I guarantee you, if you went up to any garbage sanitation worker in New York and were like, hey, I need to find a USB drive, they would just be like, oh, okay, like dig around here without no questions asked.
They wouldn't be like, who are you, or why are you asking
especially
this?
if you're wearing a costume.
Yeah, they don't care.
To a point you made earlier, Kirk, I think that like it's certainly not a coincidence that the first superhero game to really strike it big, so to speak, was a Batman game, and that Batman doesn't have superpowers, because I think superpowers make it harder to deliver a power fantasy, because one of the core tenets of delivering a video game power fantasy is you start at level 0 and work your way up, whether it's a skill tree or, in Batman's case, collecting gadgets, which in like a more realistic game, I don't remember Arkham Asylum too well, I remember Arkham Knight pretty well, but in a more realistic version of Batman, you would start with everything, but because these are video games, you have to gather stuff over time throughout the asylum.
It's a similar rhythm to the films also, where he kind of deploys cooler shit over the course of the movie.
As it has to be in any sort of story. It has to be like you're starting one place and you have your arc and you make your progress.
He doesn't just fly in the Batwing, except I guess in the Lego Batman movie, but that's the point of that movie, is that it kind of starts at the top and then goes down.
Point being that like you can kind of one of the reasons that Arkham Asylum took off and set this kind of standard for superhero games is that it took all of these principles that work in game design, such as the Metroidvania style, like finding things and using them all over the place and seeing things that come back later, Peter, and apply them to a superhero game, as opposed to taking a superhero and just like finding a new formula for video games. So really, you could say that Samus Aran is the original superhero game.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also why she stupidly has to lose all of her abilities at the beginning of every game.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to start.
Understandably,
right, an ongoing challenge. And Kratos has the same issue in a lot of God of War games.
Although it'd be fun, and I've heard it talked about before, the idea of like a Benjamin Button style game where you're just losing all your powers over time. I think that'd be an interesting subversion.
It would certainly get harder. Yeah.
It also gets at the heart of why we've never seen a good Superman game, because Superman is invincible to everything, and so it's not very fun. Although I don't remember if we talked about this before on this show, or if I've definitely talked about this before, but I would love to see a Superman game in the kind of Telltale choose your own adventure style where you have to make difficult decisions.
Absolutely.
That's the way something like that could work.
Where is the Clark Kent journalism game? We need this. We need Clark to be making some really tough decisions.
His newspaper just got bought by private equity, and so
also he's like trying to report on stuff in between, like saving people, saving kitties from
his
trees.
kryptonite is actually private equity, and
wow,
that's how he gets.
You can't save everyone, Clark. You can't save everyone.
Yeah, the Batman Telltale game is an interesting example of this. And when you were saying that, Jason, I was having the same thought that for Superman, the only way I've ever seen Superman, I mean, there are some very fun classic Superman films, but it's hard to make the character interesting unless you've got Lex Luthor being like, two things, you can either do this or do that, but you can't do both. Like, are you a human or aren't you a human? Do you care about these people because they might fear you? And, even the stuff that Zack Snyder got into, as messy as those films were, was sometimes really interesting. And that's best explored by that kind of format, which is a game that's just about conversations and that kind of role playing. That's what was cool about the Batman Telltale game. I didn't finish that game, but I played a couple chapters of it.
Same.
And it's cool because it does have a lot of Batman stuff, but it focuses on Batman, mystery solving and puzzle solving and dealing with complicated, tough snap decisions in the field. And then also you get to play Bruce Wayne a lot, which is just cool because Bruce Wayne is a fascinating character. Like that is a cool character to let people play and to embody the non-superhero part of a character, which you just really don't get to do in a game like Marvel's Spider-Man, where there are fantastic cutscenes in that game. There's a really, Peter and Mary Jane and all those characters are really well drawn and animated and written, but you're not doing a lot of playing. And like they could add a sort of witchery thing, the way Horizon does. We were having some conversations and there's some branches, but it just seems like the game's main thrust is always going to be swinging around the city, punching bad guys.
Playing Spider-Man again has also made me realize how much Miles Morales changed and fixed a lot of aspects of Spider-Man. Yes. Like just from the jump, it's fixing one of the central problems we're describing here, which is it's giving Miles an origin story. He doesn't really know how to be Spider-Man yet at the beginning of the game, and neither do you. You're learning how to play the game. And he has different powers than Peter. He has like his electricity shock powers. And so you're learning this new form of combat, which just preference-wise, I thought that was more fun, but I know not everybody agrees with that. I just happen to really dig it. So you're learning these new skills at the same time as Miles. You're exploring the city along with him. That just works a lot better. It's ironic because I feel like I'm so tired of Superman origin stories in basically every other media format, but in a video game, I'm like, it's fine. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to be Superman and like already have laser eyes and all the other shit. That sounds incredibly boring to me. But going along with Miles on his journey of, oh shit, I'm Spider-Man now and Peter's on vacation and I need to like fight the Rhino and like figure out how to navigate all this shit along with my regular life. Like that was why that game worked a lot better for me emotionally.
Yeah, it also narratively, I think, did more of the classic Peter Parker narrative structure because of the fact that the villain in that game is also your friend, and there's like a conflict built into like the central friendship relationship that's playing out in the cutscenes. Like that's just like a classic Spider-Man dynamic where Miles Morales in this case is learning to be Spider-Man, and as he gets better at being Spider-Man, he's working at odds with one of his oldest friends, and it's like all of that stuff is kind of interacting. And then of course there's the other stuff with like the secret identities of his other family members and whatever. That stuff is all just interacting in a way that feels better than it did in the original game, where they've got you're working for Doc Ock, and then eventually he becomes Doc Ock. So there's some of it, but it's not quite.
Yeah, he is your friend, but it is kind of a missed opportunity that they don't have like the Osborn family as part of it, where like there's a younger character who Peter's a friend with, and like instead they have that he's like off in Europe somewhere, and you're like cleaning up his research laboratories. Which, okay, that's fine. But then it means that Peter's
presumably he's coming back.
Right. But then it means that Peter's two friends are MJ and Miles, who are then both on his side, and you just also play as them, so you don't get the tension of somebody more relatable to Peter that he's fighting against. Like Doc Ock, you know,
because he has like
Doc
7
Ock
villains
from moment one. Yeah, it's the Sinister Six. It literally is 7 villains. They were like, listen, the films couldn't do Sinister Six because it was too many villains, so we've decided we will. And props to them for trying.
Although the most recent Spider-Man did like a Sinister 4 or 5 thing, right? Like the most recent one.
I guess there were kind of a lot of them in there. That's true.
That's true. But they weren't like explicitly trying to do Sinister Six.
I can imagine them not wanting to have Harry be a character in the new Spider-Man just because he was such a major character in the Raimi trilogy, and people are so familiar with that story that they wanted to do something new.
But so is Peter Parker. So is Mary Jane.
Right. That's the thing is they didn't really replace him with anything else. And I do think this is something we talked about a little bit at the end of last week's episode, that they ran into trouble when Spider-Man as Peter Parker in the main game is like an established hero.
Yeah.
And as a result, he's kind of in enforcement mode. And so he's like working with the police, and he's kind of cleaning up the streets and being more of an enforcer than we think of Spider-Man being, where when you play as Miles Morales, it's like, this is the guy. Like he's this kid, like no one really takes him seriously.
An app,
always trying to prove himself.
It has its own problems.
Right.
Yeah. He feels so much scrappier by design. Although I think the reason they gave Miles that app is also because of some of the criticism that the team received in response to Spider-Man, where people were like, hold on. Peter Parker doesn't work with the cops in the comics. What's going on here? Right.
Wait, the app. Can you explain the app to people who like me who are just now remembering what it is because I played the game a couple of years ago?
I'll describe Spider-Man first. So in Spider-Man, you're not only working with the cops, you're actually pals as Spider-Man with the police chief. She doesn't know your identity, but she knows you as Spider-Man, and she calls you a lot on the phone and asks you to help the cops out with various...
Is she the chief, or is she just the police officer?
I'm not sure. I think she's the chief. She's pretty high up. And then in Miles Morales, Miles actually has some stealth missions where he has to avoid the police, which I liked because he doesn't work with them directly. And he instead, his best friend, whose name I'm forgetting, Genki, I think, makes him an app that anyone, any regular schmo can write in saying they need Spider-Man's help. So you end up with this really disparate set of tasks where people are like, oh, I run a bodega and my cat is missing. I'm just trying to find my cat. And then also like actual real crimes that he has to like track down, people who stole something or what have you. But I really like it. And I mean, there are still things in the original Spider-Man. Like there's this part where you help this homeless guy find his pet pigeons, which is kind of similar to the bodega cat thing. Like there are some like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man parts in that game.
The side quests mostly, yeah.
Yeah, but like the main story is not about that and is mostly about Spider-Man working with the cops who are depicted as infallible in the game.
And then like working against the sort of PMC that's brought into the city, the worst cops,
evil cops who they bring in, that are demarcated as evil because they're private security. But the good old NYPD never makes a mistake.
Maddy, you're not a New Yorker, so I won't hold it against you. But bodega cats are the most important thing in New York City. Side quests that
you're right. What am I saying? That was actually like a really high stakes issue, and Miles was.
I feel like that's one of the most famous images from Miles Morales is that suit you can wear where he has the backpack with the cat in it and he swings around the city.
I mean, it's pretty good. It works for a reason.
So another thought I had, I was going to bring this up earlier, is that I think that one of the solutions to the superhero problem, which is like, what do you do with this archetype, this superpowered creature? How do you make a game about it? I think one of the good solutions is ensemble stories, and that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is the Firaxis XCOM style Marvel game that keeps getting delayed. I'm sure that game is going through some troubles, but regardless, I'm looking forward to that. It's why I was looking forward to Avengers.
Marvel's Avengers,
until that turned out to be a little hollow, a little shallow. could have been great. But regardless, the point is that like when you have an ensemble cast, you don't have to worry as much about each one of them having their own arcs, their own progression, and you can kind of you can divvy the load, so to speak, which I think is a more elegant way of approaching the solution. And it's why I'm surprised that we haven't really seen a really good like Fantastic Four X-Men game, and I'm hoping that arrives at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Gotham Knights, right? That's one of the most upcoming ones. And it's funny, I feel like we all aren't even really thinking about it because...
And Suicide Squad. Oh, yeah, it's all ensembles.
Right. They're all kind of working on ensembles. And I think I didn't play enough of Marvel's Avengers, but found that game generally a little disappointing, even though the premise is good because an MMO style, like Destiny style team really lends itself. Like that's kind of what the Avengers are. They've got the tank, they've got support, they've got the sniper, the DPS. Yeah. And it's like it lends itself to that kind of a game.
It did not work for a lot of reasons. It was so repetitive and
right. I mean, sure, specific complaints about that game, but like, there's DCU Online, which I've never really played, but there are these online superhero games with the same kind of idea.
City of Heroes. Yeah.
Because really like in FF14 or WoW or whatever, I mean, you're kind of playing a superhero team, right? It's just
this was the whole idea of Titan before it became Overwatch. Right. The Blizzard MMO is going to be like you are like a mild-mannered shop owner by day and a superhero you turn into Reinhardt or Mercy by night.
I mean, Overwatch is almost a team-based superhero game. Like it is another example of something that kind of is that. Yeah,
it's only the only reason we don't call it that is because again they have their origins in a video game.
Right.
Well, no, it's because superheroes for some reason are only comics. Like you only call something a superhero if it originated in a comic. But why isn't Reinhardt and Mercy and Tracer? They're just as much superheroes. The only difference is that they originated in a video game. Really, that's the only difference, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a fine distinction, but I think there's also just the fact that Overwatch is a PvP game, and that just like when we're talking about superhero games, like it's one thing to say what is a superhero, is it just your powers? But like when talking about a superhero game, it's sort of what we're at least talking about is the feeling of being, a superhero fighting against supervillains, not like being a superhero fighting against a clone of yourself on another team of 6 in like an arena. That's not really a superhero experience, generally speaking.
That's why Overwatch 2 is supposed to have PvE, although they're launching it early
more
without
story.
PvE.
I mean, I feel like if they ever did do a story for Overwatch, it would be more superhero-like because you're supposed to be fighting the Omnics or whatever the heck the story is in
and
Overwatch.
Like watching those animated shorts for Overwatch always felt kind of like watching a Marvel movie. Like it had that same draw. I've never really seen superhero team dynamics done as well as they're done in probably my favorite superhero team game, which is a tabletop game called Sentinels of the Multiverse. I can't remember if I've ever talked about this game on this show. Have I?
I think you did.
Is this a Marvel thing?
It's not. It's sort of like each character is a kind of a knockoff. It's a card-based game. It's a cooperative deck game where you get a deck for your hero.
Sounds like a Marvel lawsuit waiting to happen.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's like the characters are different enough. There's a kind of gadget-based Batman-like character.
Well, even Sentinels of the Multiverse, I just think of Marvel.
Well, you're not playing as a Sentinel hunting down the X-Men. That would be a terrible game.
They're their own thing. So, it's like there's a Batman-like character. There's a kind of Superman/Captain America type character. And then the cards in your deck are all your different abilities. You can play like active cards, passive cards. It's a card game. And then there's a deck there's like an environment deck. So you can be fighting a villain in any of a number of environments, city that's exploding or like base on the moon or whatever, undersea lair. And so that environment deck like complicates what's happening. And then there's a villain deck, and you're always fighting some supervillain, and they're increasing levels of complication and difficulty. So you have to synergize your team, and you can play with it. There's a ton of heroes. Like there's all these expansions. I just have the base game. But it's cool because you have to take the time to really think through your different abilities, and each character really plays differently. There's like the character who has lots of guns and can like blow stuff up, has all these rocket launchers and stuff. There's a character who can really debuff enemies. There's a character who can buff everyone and heal them. And so it winds up really feeling like you're a super team at the best, which is a feeling that I think video games at some point will really nail, and maybe some have, just that I haven't played, because that's really cool. The team up thing is what, it's like the lifeblood of so many superhero comics, but it's not that common in games, except in like single player games. I guess Arkham Knight, you're doing some team ups, but you're the only one playing. You're just teaming up with Nightwing or whatever. Not really the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smaller scale example, but I feel like that's part of why Lego Batman and also the X-Men arcade game were so cool to me, because Lego Batman you can play cooperatively and there's like some choice as to which character you can be. And I mean, the team ups don't necessarily make total sense, but the X-Men arcade game is like the original version of this where everybody has very slightly different powers. They're not that impressive, but hey, they all have different powers, and that was like enough at the time. And just the fact that, you know, you could have multiple people at the arcade cabinet all working together and being like, okay, I'm going to pick so-and-so, I'll pick Storm, whomever you're into, and then you all have to work together. Like that in and of itself is the itch that Marvel's Avengers is trying to scratch, but it's too complicated by
but
1,000
when
points.
the three of us played, we all became Hulk for some reason.
I know, it
bugged out.
It didn't
Oh man,
work,
that's right. What a mess.
I don't know. Like, are we going to live in a world where they make like 4 different superhero single player games, and then the 5th game is one where all 4 of those heroes team up together and it's like all in the same engine and they just are practicing with the previous 4?
That's never going to happen, because Marvel is like smartly licensing out their stuff to like a billion different game developers
you're right.
and publishers, so none of them are going to work together. It's not like EA is calling up Ubisoft and being like, hey, what are you guys doing? Or Firaxis or whatever.
You'd say that, but Insomniac has collected at least a couple characters so far that have been Avengers. The Wolverine game isn't out yet, but
That's
it would
true.
be kind of weird if they didn't have a Spider-Man Wolverine team up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, well, since those are both Insomniac, I wouldn't be too shocked if Spider-Man 2 ended with like a post-credit like Wolverine teaser.
Right.
Very MCU of them if they were to do that.
I remember having coffee with someone from Insomniac years and years ago, and they just announced Spider-Man, their first Spider-Man. I was like, you guys need to end it with a teaser for the Avengers from Square Enix, but it did not come to fruition. But
yeah, why didn't they do that?
But if it's internal, why wouldn't they do it? Why not?
Yeah,
You know,
I could see that.
The Avengers game almost could have been what you were describing, Maddie. Of you know, you play through a mini campaign as each character, and then you get to play them together. I think that for me, where that game lost me was the fact that they didn't do that with Kamala Khan at first. That you didn't play just through a whole adventure as her, and then play through another adventure. You know, like they slowly
like Black
release
Widow or
like a kind of
whoever,
modular thing over the course of 2 years. You get new adventures, which they did start kind of doing later on, but it was so quickly. It was an Avengers game. It wasn't just you're going to get Kamala Khan, because they needed it to be, you know, a multiplayer game that everyone can play as their favorite Avenger. I guess it would be really hard to launch that as a kind of like the way you described Assassin's Creed Infinity, Jason, where it's like kind of a framework and you get one hero and then another, and then it kind of becomes like a video game version of the MCU. That could work. It's just so ambitious, and it would require so much patience from people, you know, for the multiplayer stuff to even come online. Because if it starts with just 1 or 2 heroes, like, you know, it would have to start with a lot of stuff, and then you've basically got what Avengers was, which didn't quite work.
Also, each campaign would take like 3 years to make.
Right. No, I mean, it is a crazy amount of work. But I mean, I don't know. If Disney's throwing money behind it and like really making it into a thing, I could kind of see it.
Yeah, but throwing money at it doesn't always work. I mean, even the companies that are throwing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is evident, yes.
It's a lot of companies are throwing money at things, and that doesn't actually mean they can be made, unfortunately. What's the expression? It's like in programming, they always talk about how, you know, that 9 women in 1 month can't make a baby. That's like the throwing more people at a problem.
That really does sound like one of those truisms.
Yeah, true. I don't know if I even agree that a superhero team up is the best way for us to be thinking about what makes a good superhero game, because I feel like a really strong single player game about just one superhero can be great.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just needs to be the right superhero. It needs to be a
Right.
superhero that is grounded enough that like you feel like you are not just like inhabiting this all-powerful being from the get-go, because you need to have progression of some sort, and also a superhero that is like flawed enough that you can tell an interesting story about them.
You know, I would also say that a superhero game should have normal people in it. Like, I think that one thing that sets God of War apart, even though it's structured so similarly to a superhero game, is that you're in a world that's essentially populated by gods and monsters. And so it's just like Kratos is kind of the baseline. There are times where he lifts a mountain up or whatever, and you're like, whoa, this guy is a god. That's right, I remember. And certainly in the earlier games, there are some times where there are mortals around, but they're always kind of just these little, like, you know, fleeing people who are being crushed underfoot by these gods. So it doesn't feel superhero-y in that way that it, most superhero, at least my favorite superhero stories tend to involve people realizing powers. And that's kind of the fantasy, is the dream, is that you're special. You're the specialist person of all. You can fly, or you can see through walls, or whatever. And then you have to kind of navigate your life now with these ordinary people. I think I wrote Life is Strange here because I think that Life is Strange is actually a very interesting example of what I would call a superhero story, where Max, is that her name, the main character of Life is Strange?
Max Caulfield, just like Holden.
Oh, Caulfield, God. The literary aspirations of that game can be a little silly. That Max gets a superpower, the ability to travel through time, and then that story, especially the first game, the first Life is Strange game, is this really interesting version of
it's a love story too.
Yeah, it's
between Max and Chloe,
a human story, and it's all about her relationships with other totally normal people. It just adds this superpower to the mix to change the way the story is told. And I mean, Life is Strange 2, which I started and didn't finish, but definitely, I mean, it's almost like an X-Men story or something. Like, it feels very similar. So that, again, I guess we come back to that format being good for certain types of stories.
What we really need is a new Animorphs game.
Sure.
That's what I want.
That is an IP that we are just waiting for somebody to snap it up. Honestly, if someone did, and they did like a really good Animorphs.
It'd be amazing. You go around, you touch animals, you become,
those books are dark too.
Transform into they like half of them die at the end because war is
like a bunch of them die, and one of them like becomes a bird permanently because he's just I'd rather be a bird or whatever.
Yeah, that's at the very beginning.
Wait, so these are, I've actually never, is this read? These are books? I know of Animorphs, but I've never read them.
These are books.
These are
young adult books.
They came out around the time Maddy and I were growing up, so you probably missed them by a couple of years.
When you were young adults. And I was just an adult.
Yes. Right. You were way too cool by then. You were already a tween.
I was too busy
or whatever.
Drinking coffee and talking about politics.
They're really, man, those books are really, really good. They kind of tapered off by the end because the author, Kay Applegate, got ghostwriters at a certain point, and it became...
a young adult series that kind of loses quality toward the end. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. But they ended with a bang. The ending itself is really good. They came out like once a month, which in retrospect is crazy. It was like
it's
a new
wild.
So it's young people who
month.
Can turn into animals, like
animals.
So the premise is these 5 normal kids like wind up in a junkyard at night and like stumble upon this alien who dies, and before he dies gives them all the power to transform into animals. So they go around, you have to touch an animal to be able to transform into it. So like each book they like wind up getting some new morph that they can play around with. Like at one point it's like, oh, we're all birds, awesome, let's explore that. One book is like, we're all undersea now, we're dolphins, we're exploring the water, and so it explores like each of the different possibilities. At one point they like wind up becoming like insects and like have to deal with like buzzing noises in their head.
Oh, that's fun.
Anyway, turns out that they have to fight this secret invasion on Earth of these mind-controlling worms called the Yerks, who can crawl into people's ears and take over their heads, and you have no idea who's being controlled and not.
Very Peacemaker.
Yeah, Peacemaker does this.
Or like a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's a really, really great
That sounds
series.
pretty fun. That sounds like there's some sequences in The Magicians where they turn into animals that are very, very enjoyable.
Yeah. It would be very hard to do a game like that.
It would be.
Well, so actually, it turns out there was an Animorphs game. I think it was like a Super Nintendo game or a Game Boy game, and it was essentially Pokemon. It's just like a Pokemon clone with Animorphs.
Where you just walk around touching different animals, and then you get the power of that animal, and you can fight. Oh, yeah, I guess it would become a collectathon as opposed to a deep story.
But I think that a good developer could do some cool stuff with Animorphs. That's my vote.
Yeah, there's definitely still a lot of room. And now that games have just technologically become so capable, like if it did feel like Arkham Asylum came along at a time where there was just a level of fidelity, there was a level of performance fidelity, like you could get Mark Hamill to play the Joker and it really felt like, you know, you were kind of watching 3D animated series that now, you know, and we've seen this in Spider-Man as well. It just feels like there's kind of more, it's more likely that you're going to get a superhero game that's like those and not just some crappy tie-in Super Nintendo Superman game or whatever that just sort of sucks.
Yeah. It's funny you mention that because Spider-Man is one of those games you play and you're like, how can video games ever really look better than this? Like, I feel like
I've had that thought a lot.
Especially with the remaster.
Yeah.
Those freaking reflections, man.
I've been streaming it off
so
of PC to Steam Deck, and it's still, I mean, it's even on a smaller screen, so it's running like it runs on PC, because on Steam Deck it doesn't run, it runs, but not as well. But just looking at it, there are times I have that thought, I'm like, I don't need video games to look better than this. Like, just when you're swinging around the city, or the cutscenes, I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I find these characters believable and charming, and this looks incredible at times. It's just like, dude, you don't have to spend any more money on this. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, you just end it here.
Let's just put an end to the Fidelity Wars.
Let's just focus on story and making the games more fleshed out.
Focus on making games more humane to make.
Right, and also having weekends.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even mention they actually just announced like yesterday or 2 days ago that Disney and Marvel are doing a conference in September to announce superhero games. They're like, it's their first ever video game conference for Disney and Marvel. So we will see some superhero games very soon.
Maybe they'll even be good.
They hinted at the one from Amy Hennig is making a superhero game with Skydance Entertainment. So they hinted at getting to see that.
Yeah, it definitely seems as though we have not seen our last superhero game. And in fact, there may be many more of them in the near future.
That is for sure.
We'll stay tuned and we'll talk about those when they come out. In the meantime, let's take a break and then we'll be back for one more thing.
Hi everyone, I'm Ella McLeod.
And I'm Alexis B. Preston.
And we host a show called Comfort Creatures, the show for every animal lover, be it a creature of scales, 6 legs, fur, feathers, or fiction. Comfort Creatures is a show for people who prefer their friends to have paws instead of hands.
Unless they are raccoon hands, that is okay.
That is absolutely okay, yes.
Yes. Every Thursday, we will be talking to guests about their pets, learning about pets in history, art, and even fiction. Plus, we'll discover differences between pet ownership across the pond. It's going to be a hoot on Maximum Fun.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin McElroy.
And I'm Sydney McElroy.
Dr. Sydney McElroy.
That is true.
It's important in this context because we host a medical history podcast called
Sawbones.
Oh, I thought we should have worked on that.
Sawbones.
Sawbones isn't afraid to ask the hard-hitting questions. Like, are vaccines as safe and reliable as they want us to believe?
Yes.
Do I have to get a flu shot?
Yes.
Okay. Is science a miracle?
No.
We have a lot of great history for you and a lot of laughs. And sometimes the history is so bad that there's no laughs. But
you'll learn something, you'll feel something.
And it's always Sawbones.
That's right.
Every week on MaximumFun.org.
And we are back for one more thing. Maddy, how about you go first? What's your one more thing?
It is unintentionally related to superheroes, actually. I've been playing a fighting game called MultiVersus, and Superman is in it, and he is massively overpowered, and people are mad because you can't put Superman in a fighting game. And
like
that's what I'm going to talk about for the
they would
next
anticipate
hour.
That.
No, I'm not really going to
Wait
talk
a minute.
about that,
You're telling me that Superman can beat LeBron James?
Superman can beat Arya Stark in a fight? I would not have guessed
Superman can fly, you guys. And he can like fly over and pick you up and then carry you off the stage and kill you. And like
that's so funny.
The funnier thing actually is imagining that Arya Stark is capable of beating Superman at all. Apparently.
Right, of course.
Hilarious.
Or that like Jake the dog and Finn the human and Shaggy is actually in this game.
Maybe Needle has kryptonite. It's a kryptonite needle.
Right. Yeah. There's a kryptonite needle. So MultiVersus, obviously, from how we're talking about it, is a video game, a fighting game that has characters from many, many different Warner Brothers owned franchises. And this is a game that I definitely made fun of when I first saw the trailer because I was like, this looks like Space Jam 2.
Well, yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean that as a compliment because
Space Jam 2 is bad?
Let me think about how I want to say this. Well, you know what? Space Jam 2 is fun. It's fine if you like it.
You're being so diplomatic. Okay.
Well, Kirk, you are the man who's come on this show and said you think Ready Player One is fun. I've never seen that movie. We try to be open-minded here about dumb, fun action stuff.
I mean, to be fair, Space Jam, we are out of the demographic for Space Jam.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Like we you
yeah.
were in the demographic
Oh,
for
yeah.
Space Jam 1 back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, I was, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Ready Player One is pretty bad. It's a pretty bad movie, honestly. Anyways, I'm just rethinking my past opinions.
Okay.
Anyway,
No,
carry
it's
on.
fine because it's okay for things to just be a list of silly references, and you look at it and you're like, I know what that's from, and then you move on with your life.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
everything has to be extremely deep, but sometimes when a thing is just a list of references, you start to feel like maybe Warner Brothers is stealing your wallet, and it's not a great feeling. And MultiVersus kind of looked that way to me.
I just want to say, as the parent of a toddler, my toddler gets very excited when she sees something she recognizes. So, like
Oh,
when we
exactly.
see the
it's
FedEx
a
truck,
human experience,
when
okay?
we see the FedEx truck, she'll be like FedEx, or like United States Postal Service. So
Right.
I understand why a list
Wow.
of references,
Having Shaggy turn up in a fighting game is the equivalent of.
like a
Yeah,
list,
yeah,
or
yeah.
just a list of
Yeah.
references in general would
Yeah.
be appealing to
Honestly,
younger people.
That is a great comparison because seeing Superman fighting LeBron James is about as excited as your toddler gets about the FedEx truck. That is how I feel playing this game. So MultiVersus, I would say the reason they've pulled this off is because this is actually a really deep and fun fighting game, which it did not have to be. And I feel like everyone I've talked to has kind of had that same conclusion of like, people were maybe given like a crappy hand here, the developers who had to make this game. Like, they were given Space Jam 2 essentially, and they were like, this is a premise everyone's going to think is boring corporate IP, like getting smashed together and is like unfun hackery, but you guys need to make it into an actually fun fighting game, and they did that. And I don't know how or why, but they've done this, and it is an extremely fun game. I am kidding around about Superman, but LeBron James is like legit fun as hell to play as in
I
this
have heard
game.
that.
Like, he has a basketball, it is a different set of moves without the basketball. It's just fun, man. Like, you
Nice.
fucking
So-
dunk on Shaggy, and then you like smack Wonder Woman, and you're LeBron James. I don't know. It's fun. Like, it's funny to watch and also fun to play, which is all you really want of a Super Smash Brothers clone.
Nice.
You know?
Worth noting, the director of the game and the co-founder of the company, Player First Games, that's the name of the company
Yes.
that made this game. Director Tony, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, Hyun. He has been a game developer for like 20 years. Was a designer
Wow.
at Riot, on Sony Santa
There you
Monica,
go.
and God of War. So
So they got some talent for
they
this
got
game,
some,
clearly.
Yeah, they got some legit
And it's free to
experience there.
play, by the way. You
I didn't know
do
that.
have to like slowly level up to unlock all the characters and stuff. It's kind of hard to get them all for free. I will concede that. But LeBron is one of the free characters, so you could give him a try if you wanted to for $0.
So I will play this game. I will play this game immediately as soon as they add Tony Soprano.
you know
It's owned
what?
by Warner Brothers.
They're adding the Wicked Witch of the West, so like stranger things have
Wicked Witch of
happened,
the
man.
West.
Like Alpha was gonna join this game, and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm excited for this. I feel like I've gone all the way back around on MultiVersus now, and I mean MultiVerses with an ES instead of Versus with a US, because I'm like, this game's kind of fun to me
It is
now.
fun
Like,
to
there's funny
imagine.
one-liners, and like it's
Yeah.
funny for Shaggy to be like in a fighting game. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you kind of like turn off your cynical self and just enjoy it for what it is, it's like, it's kind of awesome.
Tony's
actually.
special ability is he takes out a Satrial sandwich and just starts
And just
eating
sits down
it.
the-
Like,
I mean, that is the thing that
Peppers
would
and
be in
eggs.
this game.
Right.
Like,
Gabagool.
one of Shaggy's things is taking a sandwich out of nowhere, just as
Oh,
Shaggy
perfect.
does on
Oh,
Scooby Doo.
man.
So,
Tony
like,
can come
all
and
the
steal it.
characters kind of have little bits that they do that are like part of who they are, and all their barks and stuff.
oh, Tony Soprano, he could summon ducks, just like a flock of ducks. He summoned,
Then he has a panic attack.
and then he has a panic attack. Yeah,
You do picture like Stringer Bell taking on Carrie Coon from The
Oh my
Leftovers.
god!
Oh,
Yes.
And she gives him a gun and he shoots her in a bulletproof vest.
Perfect.
Oh man! Also,
Perfect.
they own Sesame Street now. You could have Elmo pop up.
Oh man!
Yeah, you could have Miss Piggy in there.
Snuffleupagus
She's like
versus-
freaking karate style. Like, she could kick ass.
I don't think
in
Miss
there.
Piggy is Sesame Street.
You're
She's,
right. She's
Muppet
owned
Show.
by
Show.
the Muppets are owned by somebody else now.
Right.
You're right.
Right. Just the Henson
Oh,
is the
well.
connection.
Yes, but Sesame Street is part of HBO.
But who knows? Anything is possible in this multiverse world we live in now.
Yeah, we're just stuck with Elmo, I guess.
Well, Elmo, Big Bird, the Count. The Count could really.
Count.
Like 1, 2, 3, you're dead.
Yeah, the Count is a vampire. We got to get the Count's vampire
Yes.
abilities
Oh my God.
on the table here.
Oh my goodness, the Count versus Polly Walnuts.
Goodness, I'm gonna play this game. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's stupid.
Nice.
And fun.
That's multiverses. All right, I'm going to go next. My one more thing is a show that I just finished watching the 8th season of on Netflix, though most of the seasons of this show are actually on Hulu. It's a show called Alone. Do either of you know about Alone?
No.
This show rocks. This is for people looking for something a little different. If you want to watch it is, I guess, technically a competition reality show, though it doesn't have any of the baggage that a reality show implies. This is a wilderness survival competition. It's a History Channel show. I think it airs on A&E, but it's on streaming, so you can just watch it, like I said. And the way it works is 10 individuals who are all real hardcore outdoors wilderness survival experts they get their choice of like 10 items, and they're given a kind of basic kit. So it's like really basic stuff, a bow and arrow, a fire starting kit, fishing line, little things like that, from a set group of things. And then they're each dropped off at different points in the remote wilderness. The 8th season was in British Columbia. They do a lot in Canada. They've done like Patagonia. They've done the Arctic one season. So really hostile environments just alone. And then they're given a bunch of cameras. So they have their own cameras. There's not like a camera crew with them. And then they film themselves as they just try to survive for as long as possible. And the person who makes it the longest gets $500,000. And that's the show. And it is a riveting show. Emily loves this show and has watched it. We're both, pretty big campers. We like being outdoors. Nothing like as hardcore as on this show, but it is fun to watch people who are good at that kind of thing. She watched a lot of it, and I watched it kind of ambiently. And it was fun to just come in and see what was going on. There's always something wild, They all kind of gradually starve, but they're also like, someone will catch a fish, and it's the most exciting thing ever.
They have weird injuries, I'm sure.
There are some pretty gnarly injuries that have happened over the seasons. Not anything too horrible, but a couple where it's like pretty intense, where they like medically lift people out. A lot of people get pulled for medical reasons, because they get too skinny, which is a common thing. Like they'll get to the end and it's like the final 4 people are just in it to win it, but then they'll just be like, you can't stay, like you're too thin, your heart rate is up. And
yeah, I was gonna ask, is this ethically questionable, this
I mean, clearly there's some type of ethical, like we're pulling you out,
right? They have
thing.
some guidelines.
Oh, they do have health guidelines, and I mean, the people are there willingly, but there is an element, I will say,
people are at Squid Game willingly.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. There is an element to watching this show where you'll see people talk about, like, I really need, to take care of my nephew who can only stay with us this many months of the year. If we had that $500,000, it would make all the difference. And there is an undercurrent that just feels like, wow, in a more equitable society, people wouldn't do this, even though
I would think it would also be some just regular adrenaline junkies.
These people,
who are enjoying the competition.
That's only
too,
there
though.
in the eye of the beholder. And like, this show is people who are fantastic at this stuff, who love being outside, trying to see what they can do. And it's really amazing. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is that the real challenge that most people run into is the psychological challenge. It's not, a lot of times there are people who will survive. Like they'll be doing pretty well and they'll just tap out because they're like, I miss my family. Like I miss my kids. I can't do this anymore. They'll last months. I think one guy made it 100 days in one season. And there are people who are more suited to it than others, but the psychological aspect of it is fascinating because they're truly alone and they're just talking into the camera. And there are people, some of them are so funny and they come up with ways to sing and entertain themselves. They make musical instruments. It's just like a fascinating, very human, cool show about like ingenuity and survival. And I really recommend it. It is a show I think a lot of people don't know about.
Sounds awesome.
So it's worth checking out if that sounds interesting to you. I found just watching a whole season to be like a riveting, very cool experience. So it's called Alone. It's on Netflix. It's also, I think there are a bunch of seasons on Hulu as well. And it's a cool show.
I'm just trying to imagine us in a parallel reality where Squid Game is real. Like you just excitingly talking about this murder game that you were watching on TV. You're like, yeah, they're all there willingly.
So it's all gamblers.
And they make
and they're
a
all
lot
trying
of
to get out
money
of debt.
if they win.
Well, and that is kind of the thing about Squid Game, is that in the end it does wind up being also this sort of profound statement about humanity and why we do what we do.
And what you can survive.
No, it isn't really very much like Squid Game. Jason, what's your one more thing?
So my one more thing is not Better Call Saul. It's the fact that I had a child.
It's two more things.
You guys might have heard about this last week.
I'm excited.
Oh wait,
for
no, you heard about it today for the first time. Amanda was pregnant for 9 months, and you guys had no idea. Yes, I had a child. I've gone from 1 to 2 children, which is an interesting
That's
experience.
twice as many as before.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Because
You
like
don't
suddenly
say.
you have to switch from two people taking care of one person to each of you taking care of a different
Right,
person.
they've got you evenly matched. You have one more, you're going to be
Yeah.
outnumbered.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
No, we're not gonna have one more.
Oh,
We're
okay.
done. We're stopping at 2.
Capping
2
it
is
at 2.
our limit. We're
Yeah,
done
just
at 2.
keeping the decks even. That's good, I think.
Balanced
Yeah.
experience.
But yeah, a couple random thoughts. First of all, it's been interesting to see how our oldest has reacted or not reacted, because she does not seem very interested so far in him, which makes sense because he's this like little helpless. You forget how small they are when they first pop out, and
they don't
how
do
they
a
just
lot
do
in
nothing.
those early
They
days.
poop 8 times a day in the first like early days. All they do is eat every 2 hours. Yeah, it takes a few months before they become really fun. But what's been happening recently, the past year or so, is my toddler has gotten incredibly fun and is now like super fun to hang out with. So I'm
Yeah.
lucky because I don't have to do the feeding, and so my wife is like breastfeeding our baby, and I get to hang out with the toddler. So like tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go to the grocery store and take my toddler who loves going to the grocery store and just hang out with her. So that part is fun, like getting to hang out with a bigger kid. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this brings and what this means for my free time, video gaming time, et cetera, et cetera. So far, Steam Deck has been useful.
Yes, I hear that.
Switch has
I'm
been
sure.
useful. And yeah, it's a trip, man. It's a trip having 2 kids. It's a trip.
Yeah.
I will say that as a younger brother of an older sister, it's a pretty great way to be. It's pretty cool to be a younger brother of an older sister in terms of being a balanced
Yes,
human
we
being.
were very thrilled. This is exactly what we wanted.
You wanted one of each?
We wanted an older girl and then a younger
It's a
boy.
good
It's
setup, I
exactly
think.
what we
Really?
wanted.
Wow.
Yes, that's what we
Why
wanted.
that? Just cuz?
Yeah, we wanted one of each. I don't know.
Oh,
why.
but it didn't
Well,
matter.
Amanda that's what Amanda's family
Oh, I
dynamic
see, I
is.
see, I see,
She's
I
the
see.
older sister and she has the younger brother, so
Got
worked
it.
out nicely.
There's something to be said for learning to be friends with a girl and always having a girl who is
Yeah.
bigger than you
I
for
could
your
see
whole
that.
childhood, and that
And
you always
smarter
have
than
to
you.
Yeah, and you have to kind of respect her and like follow her lead. I think that was good for me.
Yeah.
anyways.
No, I agree with this. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like counteracting the society telling you the opposite of that stuff.
Right.
It's good for you.
It is.
I think
All
that's
right.
a good thing.
I'm on
yeah.
board with this.
Also, by the way, fun story that I forgot to tell you earlier. I took a video like 2 months ago of my oldest, my toddler, my near 3-year-old, playing Super Mario World for the first time. And I was going to send it to you guys, but then I realized she's wearing the shirt that says Big Sister. And so I couldn't send it to you. So now I'll have to
I
send
would have
it
just
to
thought
you
it was a
guys.
Bioshock 2 reference.
Like, yeah, that would be Little Sisters, though. So
no, it's the Big
Maddy's.
Sisters in Bioshock 2.
Oh, Bioshock 2.
There are,
reference.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
It would be the truly deep cut.
But yeah, I'm sure I will be talking much more about the trials and tribulations of having 2 children now
Yeah.
that we've established this new reality.
Yeah.
New in the sitcom that is Triple Click. We just got a new member.
A new
member of the cast. Got to
character.
shake things up
added to the show.
in season 3.
Yeah, for season 3, we got to shake
New
things up.
origin story? Is that anything? I'm going to say it works. It fits in with the theme.
I think so.
Yep. My baby superhero.
Nice. Well, that's very exciting. Congratulations again.
Yay.
And yeah, we look forward to many
Thanks.
more stories.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yep.
we did it. We made another episode of Triple Click. Look at us.
We sure did.
Hey.
We
All
did
right.
it.
Good times. All right, everybody. Well, we will be back in your feeds in another week to talk more about video games. Until then, I'll see the 2 of you next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Some of the games and products we talked about on this episode may have been sent to us for free for review consideration. You can find a link to our ethics policy in the show notes. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll consider supporting us by becoming a member at MaximumFun.org/join. Find us on Twitter at TripleClickPod, send email to tripleclick@MaximumFun.org, and find a link to our Discord in the show notes. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned, audience supported.